talked about this, but today is Halloween. You know, nobody said anything about that. Where are my DECA students? Did they leave? Okay, so I just want to ask you, why didn't the skeleton go to the prom? He had nobody to go with. What? Well, no, he didn't go because, he knew it was going to rain. He felt it in his bones. Okay, enough of that. See, now that I have your negative attention, here's some positive attention. Guys, introduce yourself, Kenny, and tell about your program and what you do.
All right, thank you, Calvin. My name's Kenny Heaton. I'm with the Small Business Development Center out of Abilene. We're one of about 1,500 centers throughout the U.S. The first distinction I want to make is we are not the SBA. We fall under the umbrella of the SBA, and we get confused regularly. Our clients even come to the table thinking they're talking to the SBA, but we are not. We are a program under their guidance, if you will, because they are responsible for exams and things like that for what we do. I tell people that all of our services are at no direct cost to you. And the reason I don't say it's free is because it's not. Every one of you in this audience that pay taxes pay our salaries. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it, and I absolutely take that seriously because I think we do have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the taxpayers get what they're needing or get value for their money out of us. Primarily, we do small business consulting, training, and research. So we can write a business plan for you. If you just want to know how to go out and mow lawns, we can tell you how to get into business to do that. So if it's small business related, and anywhere from, I call us a cradle to grave kind of business. We can be anywhere from the beginning to the very end or anywhere in the middle that you happen to need our services. Please call us. We'll be happy to help you.
So Kenny, I want to get this clear. You said you guys actually have free services. Well, it's paid by taxpayers because you're funded by the federal and state government, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for that. We are funded. People ask that pretty regularly. We are funded by the federal government through the SBA. We also are all employees of Texas Tech University. So we get funding through the state of Texas that way. Where we are very fortunate, where a lot of small business development centers are not, is that we also receive money from our EDC, our Economic Development Center, which is the Development Corporation of Abilene. They contribute to our organization and help us do what we do.
Thank you, Kenny. All right, appreciate that. Okay, Mike, you're up next.
Yep, thanks, Calvin. My name is Mike Fernandez. I'm President and CEO of Texas National Bank. We're based here in Sweetwater, and we have one branch location in Tuscola, just south of Abilene. We service Nolan County, Fisher County, Taylor County, and the surrounding areas, even though our two physical locations are just within Nolan and Taylor County, but really the big country is our market area. We are a community bank, small bank, community-minded, locally owned and operated, and we do anything and everything that small businesses are looking for, your deposit accounts, your loans, business services such as merchant processing, remote deposit capture, all the things that you need to operate your business from a banking standpoint. As Calvin said, we are an SBA-approved lender in the 7A program through the 7A Express program, which gives us the authority to make loans up to $500,000 through the SBA that are 50% guaranteed on an express basis. Happy to be here, looking forward to the conversation, and appreciate it, Calvin. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, thank you, Mike. And Rick, now you're the star of the show, so I'm going to let you take it away. You go right ahead.
Wow, we're in trouble if I'm the star of the show, I'm telling you. It is good to be home. This is my hometown, Sweetwater, and I married my high school sweetheart. She was 2 lockers down from me when I moved here as a sophomore in high school, and we graduated, Mr. Parrish, we graduated from Sweetwater High School. It's good to be home, and here the Mustangs are doing great in football this year, so that's always a good thing.
Let's give them a hand.
Yeah, here you go. We, And I love rural Texas. Pam and I raised two boys that went K through 12 in the Sweetwater school system, and they're both doing really well. And so I'm a big proponent of raising your family in rural Texas. I've been on a 20-year mission trip in Austin, Texas. I feel like I'm on a mission trip in Austin and down that way. I'm consulting now with a group called the Texas Rural Funders, and I probably got the coolest title in the country. I'm the Rural Engagement Coordinator. So what I help do is help them get in touch with rural communities when they need to. And Texas Rural Funders is a really unique organization, unlike any in the country, I think. It's 44 philanthropic organizations, most of them based in Texas, that have joined together to say, what can we do to help rural Texas? And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, I think. But it is really, really good to be home and to be here with you today.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to start with some questions here. And everybody talks about credit. And we want to ask the panel about what role does credit play in someone getting a business loan? And why don't we start with our banker first? Go ahead, Mike.
Sure. Thank you, Calvin. So as you might imagine, credit is paramount. It's incredibly important. If you're coming to the bank as a small business owner, and especially in a startup situation, potentially, the first thing we're going to want to know is about your personal credit. How have you handled your personal loans in the past? What kind of credit score do you have? What's your debt service load currently? So really, if you operate a business or you're thinking about starting a business, one of the key attributes you can focus on is maintaining a positive personal credit history. Some of the other things that we look at when folks are coming to us for loans are your capacity to repay, and that may be through a full-time job and you're starting a side hustle, but you're borrowing some money to start this business on the side. We want to know about collateral. What kind of collateral do you have that you can provide us a security interest in the event that the loan goes bad? We look at capital. How much capital, how much money do you have in the bank so that if the loan we make you or the business that you start begins to struggle, do you have the means to continue paying that loan until the business can get back up on their feet? And then finally, conditions. Looking at the market conditions, the local market, the national economic conditions. If you're wanting to start a home building business, or you're a contractor wanting to provide plumbing services to a home builder, but the housing market is tanking and homes aren't selling, that to us is an indicator that this might not be the right time, or we would look for, look more thoroughly at those other pieces, the capital, the collateral, your credit score, in order for us to make a decision. So those are a lot of the aspects that we look at when evaluating a loan, but really I can't stress enough how important it is for your personal credit. Even if you're an established business and you come to the bank for your first loan, and your business appears to be doing well, if personally you haven't handled your business appropriately, that makes it more challenging for us to make the loan, or it makes the loan more expensive to the borrower.
So question before Kenny jumps on this. So let's say I come to your bank, I have a 640 credit score, which isn't great, it's okay. Okay, not really good. But yet I have some collateral. I may only have about 10% of the capital I need for the project. Am I possibly going to be able to get a loan from you, or is that too low for a credit score, or what?
No, 640 would be, it is on the lower end, but it's not so low that it would be an exception to our policies, right? We have policies that help us keep the guardrails on the things that we feel like are appropriate risks. So a 640 credit score isn't so low that we wouldn't consider the loan, and of course you come with some collateral and capital, and that's going to be that'll help us get comfortable with the deal. if Calvin's coming in and this is what he's offering, and it's kind of an uncertain deal for us at the bank, but I know Calvin, and Calvin's been coming into the bank. He's had his deposit account at the bank, or I see him at church, I see him at functions. We have a personal relationship. I know Calvin's character through those interactions, and so long as I think highly of Calvin's character.
Oh, and he does, I'm sure. By the way, I have an 850 score, by the way. I have no capital, no collateral. Will you still give me a loan?
But character is an important aspect of that underwriting piece as well.
Thank you, Mike. Kenny, how about talk about credit and what importance that plays?
Credit is extremely important. And I will tell you something about this fellow that I quit calling them bankers a long time ago. I've been on their side of the fence. I understand what they do. And really what they are risk managers. That's what they are. Because that's what they do every day, is they just try to gauge one thing, whether or not you're going to pay them back. And that's a multifaceted piece of information that they need to get from you to understand you well enough to know, are you going to pay them back? Because at the end of the day, he doesn't want your used stainless steel sink that you paid $3,000 for in your restaurant. No banker that I know of wants any of that. It's a very simple proposition. They loan you the money, and you pay them back. And it's, like I said, it's multifaceted, and I think where a lot of people they tend to get upset when they have been working for a company for 20 years, and they finance their boats, their cars, their kids' education, their home. That's the retail side of his business. When you change from retail to commercial, you're bridging a huge gap there. It's a different world. Whereas you had a steady income that he could rely on to reduce your risk to the point where he's going to loan that money to you, your safety net's gone. It's not there anymore. So he has to make judgments based on a lot of other factors now. So that personal credit score is one, because typically, what's the best predictor of future behavior? It's past behavior. That's what that credit score really is. It's your past behavior. So that's one facet of what he needs to make sure of, as well as he can, that you're going to pay him back. And that's the total game with credit. It can be very difficult to get. Sometimes, the old deal about, the only time I really need money is when I can't get it. If I don't need credit, then they're offering it to me all the time. That's just kind of the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But I would highly recommend, and I have lots of reasons for this, that you deal with what I call a local, regional kind of bank. Because guess what? He's going to know Calvin. He's going to know you. He's going to understand the cycles in our territory here. We're in West Texas. Things happen. He lives here. He's vested in this community. He understands what happens here. So staying with a bank like that can help you move forward with your business. Credit is, like I said, it's a very important piece of you being able to move forward.
Okay. Rick, before you address that, I want to make something clear. When they talk about SBA's involvement, we guarantee the bank. So when you're coming to us to get the loan, we're saying, well, really, the money's being put out by the lender. We're guaranteeing the lender from loss, a certain amount of loss, okay? So I just want to kind of clarify that. And by the way, we have a list of our lenders who are most active back on that table. Or you can always go to sba.gov. Most important website for us is if you go to sba.gov, you'll get all that great information. And of course, we have another loan program which does confuse people. It's our disaster loan program. That's direct money that we give at a 4% interest rate or lower, okay? And that's for these floods, these droughts right now, we have one going on in the upper part of the big country area. Those are direct loans. So I wanted to make that clarification because people always get that confused as to who's giving the money out and what we do. Okay, it's time for my man, Rick.
Calvin, I just want to reinforce what Kenny said as far as really developing a relationship with your local banker. And when I was a small business owner here, I found our banker to be so incredibly helpful and gave me so much guidance and encouragement and help when we needed that. And I would say to really, if you're thinking about starting a new business or you're in the early stages of business, get way ahead of the game and develop a relationship with somebody really, really early, because they can save you a lot of time and effort, and they can really help you get off to a good start. And if you've got in the back of your mind that you're thinking about starting a business, well, get with them really, really early, because they do this all the time, and they can help you get off to a really good start there. So I would say make a local banker your best friend, because they could really be a good advisor for you and a good counselor for you as the highs and lows of businesses come and go, and as conditions change in markets and that type of thing. They can really be a big help to you.
So here's another question. You heard from the prior panel, I think it was Tara who talked about really having a strategic plan. We call it a business plan. And that's a really key portion of this whole thing. And this is what the SBDC does for free. But Kenny, I want you to tell me what a business needs to really get a loan, and maybe what some of the important tools they need in their toolbox in making that happen.
Okay, one of the big pieces of any business plan we put together are the financials. And we put together two pieces in virtually every business plan that we help you with. We don't just throw you to the wolves and say, here you go, put this together and bring it back to us. We do hold your hand through the process, but there's a narrative piece where you talk about your business. And then there's the piece he's really interested in, it's the financials. Because what are the financials? They reasonably as we can, confirm that you're going to pay him back. Your financials are incredibly important, not only on the front end, but on the back end too. Because I call them your business GPS. If you don't know where you are, how in the world are you ever going to get where you want to be? So that information has to be two things. It has to be timely, and it has to be accurate. And when you have that and you understand that, then you're speaking in the banker's language. That helps you. What does that do? That, in his mind, if you can speak fluently in his language, that helps reduce your risk. And that's what he's looking at. How risky are you, and are you going to pay him back? Those financials are incredibly important in that piece of the picture. But it's also, it's very important for you to make decisions with. That's the first tool in your box that you need to look at. Can I hire another employee? Well, let's look at our financials and see. Can I get this new piece of equipment? Well, let's look at our financials and see. What is this new piece of equipment going to contribute to your bottom line? And then how much is it going to cost you in principal and interest when you pay it back? So those financials, we find, are probably the weakest spot with most small business owners. But in my mind, it's the most important piece in your toolbox, because it tells you where you are every step of the game.
How about that, Mike? You want to jump on that?
It makes my heart really happy when I ask a business owner for current financials, and within the hour or the day or even the week, they can give me something as of last month end. It's a lot of small business operators, I feel like, don't focus quite as much on the financials as they should, and keeping them orderly and using them as Kenny said, the GPS. Because if you can produce your financials for me quickly and they're current, that gives us an idea of how the business is doing up until basically the moment in time that we're having a conversation. Where it's not helpful is if you don't really maintain your books, you just send all your bank statements to your CPA and you extend your tax return, and then you send me your 2023 tax return in October of 2024, and now you're asking for a loan in November of 2024. Well, the information you just gave me is 10 months old, and how do I know that you're doing well in these 10 months in 2024? So yeah, I can't emphasize that enough, the importance of keeping orderly financials, and it doesn't have to be overly complicated. You can keep it in Excel. You don't have to go do QuickBooks or any of these things, but to be orderly, to be organized, and to be able to produce those financials for us at the time of your need will help us in making a decision in a timely manner.
Thank you. How about that, Rick? What do you have to say?
You know, one of the things I found to be very helpful was to have a personal board of directors. You get the big companies, they all have a board of directors. The major companies have a board of directors. And I just found that as a small business owner, I needed advisors in each of the key areas. And so I would identify people that I were subject matter experts that thankfully they weren't on the payroll for me. I just have to pay them when I used them, but I would use them as my personal board of directors. A financial advisor, a banker, somebody in the insurance business, someone that knew the human resources area. And so I would know that these are my go-to people to do that, because again, as a small business owner, a lot of things come at you that you're not familiar with, and you need somebody to help you. It might be a legal issue, it might be a human resources issue. And so again, the personal banker, but then also a financial advisor, and those people, I just found it to be very, very helpful to me to do that. And also the banker, you know, a business plan is not something you do one time and then that's it. It's an ongoing thing that you're changing, and as you're growing, hopefully, and as your markets are changing and opportunities are coming on for new opportunities to get new business. And that's, again, where I think your personal financial advisor can be so helpful to you, is to help you anticipate ways to take advantage of those opportunities that you have to grow and expand your business. And I've just found that to be very, very important.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing to that on the personal board of directors and you know, the conversations that we've been having so far, and having your financials in order. And you know, I don't want anybody to leave here thinking you know, I have to have everything buttoned up exactly like it needs to be, and go in, you know, shivering and asking the banker for a loan. We serve as, you know, part of that personal board of directors all the time, and so come in and have that conversation with me. Ask me questions. I'm not a CPA, but I can tell you how I'm going to look at it, and where you need to make improvements, so that when you are ready, or you do have a need to borrow money, that we've already had the conversation, and you're not walking in, you know, on hope that we're going to be able to help you.
So what kind of I heard here, and I think you heard this, well, you can have a beautiful business plan that's been written very beautifully, but if those financials don't cash flow, you're saying pretty much it's not going to work pretty much when you go to the banker. And of course, I think you mentioned something we call, my background is an attorney and an accountant, and so we have something called a bail team that you need. Don't hate me for being a lawyer, but you need a bail team, banker, an accountant for the A, an insurance person, and a lawyer. If you have those on your team, that's very helpful. Now, on the next piece that we want to talk about, this is we're going to skip to something kind of a quasi lightning round. Many people come to us and they're startups, and they say, you know what, I really want to get a loan. And it's kind of difficult. A lot of banks are not doing startups throughout the country in West Texas. But I want to ask you, your organization, and these are going to be short answers probably. Can you tell us if your organization, how or if your organization funds or assists startups? And if they don't, do you have an alternative? Starting with Kenny.
I'm sorry.
Does your organization, how does your organization help startup businesses? For you, I'll ask that.
All right. To start one, I would definitely come to us, number one, because we are free, our services are. But we can walk you through the process of just starting a business. Let's say you don't need any money, and you just need to know, what do I need to do to get this business going? We have a process that we go through with you, and we explain things like structure. We help you with that. Guess what? Not everybody needs to be an LLC. But we'll help you with that process and hopefully help you give you enough information that you can make an educated decision on what you're going to do with the business.
Okay.
Yep. So when we have startups that approach us, a lot of times the first thing I say is, have you talked to the SBDC? Do you have a business plan? How much thought have you put into this? What kind of projections do you have? Because, you know, all the previous conversation we've been having is kind of centered around an existing business that has financials and has a history. A startup won't have a history, a financial history. And so we want to see what do you expect to produce from revenue, and how much is it going to cost you to operate your business, and you know, how much of a loan are you asking for? You know, of course, everything, I can start every statement with "it depends," right? If we're talking about a startup and you need $10,000, you know, that's an easier thing to wrap my head around, as opposed to a startup needing $100,000 or $1 million, right? But before anybody who's considering starting a business begins that process, I really would encourage you to talk to Kenny and his team at the SBDC, because they can help you approach us in an orderly manner that makes it easier for us to have a discussion. And it goes back to even your organizational documents and structure. You know, are you a DBA, you're an LLC, your partnership, or your corporation? And do you have all the correct documents to bring to us at the time you're asking for a loan or even opening a bank account? The regulations on us require that we be able to clearly identify who we're doing business with and who the principals of that business are. And so if you can provide us with all the organizational documents, which Kenny and his team can help you with, that helps expedite the process.
Rick, do you guys do startups?
You know, Calvin, most of the time when people come to me and say they want to do a startup company, well, I'll ask them, have you visited with your local banker? And many times they'll say, yes, I have, and I was turned down.
Yeah.
So it makes me, I said, well, there's probably some more work you need to do then. There's some more things you need to do to get in place. So I'll try to counsel them. I'll look at what they have. The Texas Rural Funders does not have anything to help startups. But I just really encourage them to go back to the bank and say, what do I need to do to kind of get in better shape? And usually it's that they don't have current financials, or they have no sales yet that they can kind of base things on. So again, I really encourage them to work with SBDC and their local bankers to do that. So I kind of point in that direction.
So I'm going to give you some help here. So here's the situation. It's very difficult to find startup financing. I just talked to the COG back there. They will do some, but I'm going to tell you, we have a group of lenders called mission-based lenders. If you look on our sheet in the back, there's a listing of our active lenders and mission-based lenders. They will do startups, micro lenders that may have heard of Lift Fund or People Fund. They do smaller loans. They do larger loans also. The smaller loans, the micro loans, are backed by the federal government. At least we give them money to make these smaller loans. So there is hope for startups, because there's so many people who want that services. So don't think that there aren't entities out there. Most of those are called CDFIs, Certified Financial Institutions. They're a little different from your regular banks. Some banks have that as a part of their whole process, but they then will help you with those small loans. Mission-based lenders, be sure to go back to our table and get a list of those, because we have found that's been one of the most helpful things. And also our startup checklist is back there. And you'll also find information, another great tool, SBA.gov, but we have some QR codes. These QR codes also has something on there called Lender Match. We call it like a dating service for banks and possible borrowers. You get matched up. Basically, you put your information in. If someone likes you, a bank, they can then opt in to then talk to you. We have many people who get services from there because often so many of our top lenders for businesses in West Texas are actually from outside of West Texas because they will do those loans. That I want to promote the idea of working with your local banks because it's nothing like seeing your banker. I mean, it's nothing like going to him, shaking his hand, looking him in his eye, or her in her eye, and they know who you are. You'll get even better service. Most of those loans that you get from Lender Match, they'll get you started. But boy, for the next level of growth, you're going to talk to your regular banker. So that's just information. Hopefully, that'll be helpful for you. Now, I need to hit something else. People talk about grants. This is going to be a quick answer. I want a grant for my small business. This is going to be a short answer. We don't need long answers. So, right, Lightning, do you know? Here's the answer. Could be yes, no, sometimes, I don't know. Do you know of any entity that will give a grant to a small business to start a loan? Kenny?
First of all.
This is a short answer. Yes,
short
no.
answer?
Sir, he's on the stand. Sir, you answer the question. I object.
I call grants Sasquatch. I'm not going to tell you Sasquatch does not exist, but I'm going to tell you I have never personally seen Sasquatch.
Thank you.
There is one exception to that, and it's the only startup legitimate grant program we're aware of, and it's through the Texas Women's University. Every year they give away, they've changed the program this year. I believe it's 10 grants. They're $5,000 grants. They're small, but you have to go through an application process to get into that system. But first qualifier, you have to be a woman. You also have to be a Texas business.
What if I identify as a woman? Never mind. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You can try, Calvin.
No, I don't, but I just wonder, just for the sake of argument. Go ahead.
And they have added restrictions. I think they've learned the hard way on those grants, but it definitely is a legitimate program and the only one that we know of.
Okay, so let me just say this. Some cities have business plan competitions, and you get a grant with that, but we're not talking about those special one-off things like COVID. During COVID, you had the CARES Act that gave money out. That's a different scenario, but as a rule, the answer was no. Okay, how about you, Mike?
Calvin, I'm not aware of any place where you can go that has an open door policy to apply for grants year-round without some type of competition or some type of restriction. I'm not aware.
Thank you, sir. Rick?
You know, I work for several state agencies, I had the opportunity to do that, and occasionally there are grant programs, and Chandra Eggermeyer is here today. Wave at everybody, Chandra. Chandra's here with the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and then Lauren Moore is back there with the Texas Department of Agriculture, and occasionally they do have some programs. I don't know if you still have it, Lauren, or not, but the Young Farmer Grant Program, they have the Young Farmer Grant Program that is available. So the main thing is to really be a member of your local Chamber of Commerce, to really support your local Chamber of Commerce, because they have a relationship with a lot of the state agencies, and if you go to them and say, hey, I've got this idea, I've got something I need, do you know of anything out there, they can make a call to the Governor's Office of Economic Development to see if there's anything there possibly. Texas Workforce Commission, Mary Ross is here, and then the Texas Department of Agriculture, they might have something that could help on that. It's rare, but they might. So again, as a new business owner and a small business owner, a lot of times you just have to take the initiative to try to be sure you don't leave a stone unturned. And it's not going to be easy, but you just have to put in the work. And then these agencies can be good friends and good help to you to do that.
Are there any innovators out there, any inventors out in the audience? Okay, we have one. So I'm going to give you one somewhat of an exception. If you're just an innovator, there's something called the Small Business Innovative Research, SBIR, and the Small Business Technology Transfer Grant. Those are specifically for inventions, ideas that help you develop them, and they primarily are given to research institutions, Texas Tech, UT, people like that. Now, there are some given to directly small businesses, but typically NASA says, you're a scientist, I need you to develop something special for me. It's something of that nature. So you see on our website grants, but I don't want you to be confused or misled. there's typically not a grant out there. There's typically the Sasquatch type analysis that it typically doesn't exist, okay? So I don't want, we like to lower expectations because people come in every single week I get asked, I need a grant. I know you do it. I'm not going to leave your office until I get this grant. So I just wanted to make that clear. Don't come knocking on our door for a grant, please. Thank you. Okay, no, we love you, but we can't help you with the grant. Okay, so something that we haven't talked about much, but it was mentioned in the prior session, skin in the game. People say, hey, I got this beautiful business plan. I got a great credit score. I don't have, I need $300,000. I've saved up $20,000, and some people say, hey, I got this great business. I want to do this, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to work over here, but I'm going to let this thing rock and roll. Tell me about skin in the game very quickly in a very short answer, if you could, because we're running close to time. What about skin in the game? Can you talk about that? Is that an important factor? Let's start with the banker first.
Absolutely, because when we consider your loan request, we're looking at it as a partnership. So we're going to put some money in. We expect you to put some money in. That gets you bought into the deal more than you would be otherwise. If you have no risk, we're trying to manage our risk. And if you have no risk with no skin in the game, and we've got all the risk with all of our money in the deal, it's not a balanced equation there. So yes, absolutely, we're looking for skin in the game.
We're not going to go around the horn on that because we're running out of time. I want questions from you guys. But Kenny promised to address an issue. Here's a big issue that we have, about how do you all get information? How do you stay up on new business policies? We will ask everybody to talk about that, but I want Kenny to talk about something that's new, very important out there, called the BOI, Beneficial Ownership Filing Requirements. Kenny, could you give us a briefing on that?
Yes, sir. I would say that probably 80% of my clients know nothing about this government act that came into effect this year. It's called the Corporate Transparency Act. If you have an entity that is structured through the Secretary of State of Texas, so we're not talking about general partnerships or sole proprietorships, we're talking about LLCs, LLPs, C Corps, anything structured through that organization, you have to fill out, have to go to FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and give them your information called BOI. That's a big deal with it, BOI. It's beneficial ownership information. And what that does, supposedly, it's transparency, that if you have, let's say you have 27 LLCs, and you have LLCs within LLCs, and you drop $100 in the top of this maze, what happens why would you do that? Well, it's because you drop that $100 in and then it just kind of evaporates through that maze. Well, the intended purpose of this is you drop $100 in, $100 has got to come out somewhere. And who is benefiting from that? That's why it's called the beneficial owner. So if you are one of those structured entities, you have to get this done. If you created the entity prior to this year, you have until the end of the year to get it done. If you created that entity this year, you have 90 days from the date of your formation to get that information to them. The penalties are stiff. It's up to $500 a day and up to $10,000, and you might get to wear a striped suit if it's bad enough. So they're very serious about it right now. I think if you wait until the very end here, like in December, you might experience a problem because there are lots of folks out there that we may end up with a COVID situation where it crashes the system. So you don't want that getting in the way of you making sure that you get that done.
It's a federal rule. It's the Department of Treasury that's actually making that
Treasury
happen. So
Department.
everybody needs to do that. There are only a few exceptions. Nonprofits don't have to do it. They accepted accountants, attorneys have to do it, but almost everybody else has to do that. You have to do this. If you have an LLC or business, whatever, you have to do it. So I just want to make that's a huge thing. And so
It is. It's a big deal.
And so one of the questions, and you guys can answer if you can give me like 30 seconds each, how would you recommend a business will stay on top of new regulations, policies that affect small businesses? What would you recommend? We'll start with Rick at the end.
Yeah, one of the best things you can do, I think, is be a member of your statewide organization. We were in the oil and gas business, and so we were a member of the statewide, the Texas Oil and Gas Association, and they had publications that would keep us up to date on any changes that there were there. And then the West Central Texas Oil and Gas Association also. So I think one of the best ways is to be a member of your statewide organization, whatever industry that you're in.
Okay, Mike.
I would agree with that. We're members of the Independent Bankers Association of Texas, and I get weekly emails about legislative updates, what bills have been passed, this whole BOI deal as well. Your local Chamber of Commerce as well is a good source of information, and just relationships with your local representatives.
Kenny?
Just a quick shameless plug for us. I'm in the process right now, just ran a list of all of the entities, all of the clients that we've helped that said they were one of those structures. I'm sending a whole packet of information and a reminder about why that's done or what that you need to get it done and your timeframes for getting it done. So if you're a client of ours and you identified as one of those, identified as an LLC or whatever that other structure may be, whatever you choose, we'll send you that information out and help get that. But again, the chambers, I think, and any networking events that you can get in, other businesses will also help you with that information.
A shameless plug before we go to questions. If you go to SBA.gov and go to Office of Advocacy, they put out quarterly reports on trends on businesses, so it's a really good place to go. So remember SBA.gov. Now we're going to go straight to questions. Hearing none? Good job. No, I think there's one.
Hello, this isn't really a question, but it's on the subject of free money, or kind of like grants, but not really grants, for innovators. I think we had an innovator over here somewhere. If anyone in here is an innovator or an inventor or has a new product that they're developing and they need some technical assistance with that, we at SATOP have money that is free, so come see us.
More questions?
Calvin?
You have some. Oh, we have a question over here. Business industry, the BI.
What's that?
The business industry.
We do have a group in Lubbock where we can get some of that information. I don't want to talk out of school. We lost one of our best resources, which was a good industry resource which consolidated all of that information that we could put into a business plan, and it did it very well, very succinctly, but at the moment we don't have access to that resource. We do some AI kind of stuff now to try to fill in the gap at the moment. But one comment I want to make about startups, because we do get a bunch of folks that come in as startups. Don't be afraid to start small. You know, if you need $350,000 and you only have $10,000 to start the business, start smaller. Weed it down. Get to the point to where that $10,000 is going to get you in that business and get you going. Sadly, we've seen that there's one particular client of mine in mind that I keep in mind. He wanted $350,000. This guy wouldn't have loaned him $350,000 on his best day. But he had everything he needed to start small. But he just refused to do it. And that was 6 or 7 years ago. But I have a feeling that if he had started small then, he might be able to go get that $350,000 today. So that's your skin in the game. and small if you have to.
Any more questions? Oh, looks like we got one.
I just wanted to mention that Abilene Christian University, through their entrepreneurship program, they do provide opportunities for competitive grants, and they have been awarding those grants probably for the last 5 or 6 years. There are some restrictions, and it is competitive, as I mentioned, but for startup businesses or particularly entrepreneurial type businesses, they do provide that. The second thing I wanted to ask was, being a former banker myself, talk a little bit about how the term of the loan and the repayment of the loan, the further it extends, that creates more of a discussion with SBA about SBA finance programs, correct, Mike?
Sure, yeah, and Calvin or Kenny might be better.
I think I could probably address that a little better. One of the greatest benefits for SBA lending is that you have an extended term. Many of the lenders, I think you're hitting on that precisely, may do a 2 or 3 year term, whereas on the same maybe working capital, we'll do 5, or if it's equipment, we'll go 7, 10, life of the loan. We can go 25 years on real estate, whereas many times lenders may not want to go that far, typically 15 years. So we're going to give you a longer term to pay it back. Right now, we've waived our fees. I mentioned that, which is great. People said, fees. But the big deal, and lenders are going to tell you, it's too hard to do SBA. Well, the truth of the matter is that many times they haven't done it, and it's a hassle for them. But as a consumer, a borrower, you have to then say, look, I really want to go SBA. I think it's going to be better for me. The banker could say no, but there are other bankers who may say yes. And it's typically a win-win for you. It's a win-win for the bank typically also, because they're guaranteed. And certainly a business is going to probably be more likely to get that loan, because many times it may not fit into that box that the lender has for that particular business. So did that address that question, sir? Thank you, sir. Time for one more question?
One short one, yes.
One short question. One short question, or either one bad joke. One more bad joke? Okay.
I'd have to give that to Jarvis.
Well, Jarvis, I like that coat. There was back in the 70s, there was a movie called Blackula during the black exploitation. That's that coat I saw. You did. Oh, that's what that's from. I get it now. Okay, I got it. And you know what else? What's a vampire's favorite candy? A sucker. I'm out. Bye-bye. I'm done. Bye.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Thank you for all of our panelists. Appreciate it. I'm going to hand this over to our MC.
Well, thank you. All right, so it's about lunchtime. If y'all want to, are we ready to serve? Yes? Okay, so if we want to get in line for lunch, I will.